Welcome, Buff fans, to another edition of the Primetime Night Owls. Matt Smith joining me, and Matt, we're actually doing this at night. So
Yeah, we are.
the Primetime Night Owls, we're actually doing this at night. But nice to see you again. And you and I haven't, I mean, other than some, we always text, but other
Yeah.
than that, we haven't really sat down and talked about the Delaware game. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over Delaware and look briefly ahead to Houston this coming week, a short week. But let's talk about Delaware. The Buffs get their first win, and as we were kind of talking right after the game, and also Adam Munster Tiger and I were talking with this, like just a really weird, interesting game.
Yeah, bizarre, right? Definitely one of the more bizarre games I've ever covered,
Yeah,
at least compared to what your expectations might have been going in. And certainly, there never lacks for excitement in the Prime era, does there?
yeah, no, that
Or entertainment, at least, in
I
whatever
actually
form or fashion.
I joked with Adam because he was like, "There's never a dull moment," and I kind of joked and said,
Never.
"Can we change it to there's never a Darrell moment?"
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's true. There really isn't a dull moment. I mean, even in their losses, it was always pretty interesting, at
Yeah.
least in
Mhm.
2023, except for maybe near the end of the year. It was like, all right, I think we're beating the dead horse now.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a little rough. But this
yeah,
one was certainly interesting. I mean, a lot of ways, but I mean, it starts with a quarterback, which we're going to get into. But I mean, really, just kind of I don't know. It's a weird game. I mean, you barely outgained Delaware, but you beat them 31-7.
right.
Um, the defense only gives up 7 points, but it was a horrible tackling game. I mean, PFF had them 13 missed tackles, and
Oof.
I believe it because there was a lot of them that day. Carter Stoutmore they had with 4 missed tackles. I mean, they were missing tackles all day long, but I wrote about this the other day. I mean, they finished drives well.
Yeah.
They were able to get a couple fourth down stops, some turnovers, a block punt, things like that. So they finished drives well, but man, it was just we're gonna get to quarterback, but other things. It was just kind of I mean, what were your takeaways non-quarterback from this game?
Ah, Brian, they were strange, right? I mean, they only allow 7 points, and I'm really glad that we waited a few days to do this because I've had some different thoughts after
Mhm.
reflecting on this. And again, I think it comes back to what your expectations were heading into the season.
Yeah.
Um, you and I were about seven and kind of a range from 6 to 8, 6 to 9 ish, right? I mean
Mhm.
that area. And we both did agree in our season preview that we would both classify 6 wins as a very good year for this program, considering what they had to move on from and
Yep.
what they've been doing, right? I think
Mhm.
we can both agree on that. And so I've kind of had to take a step back and look at it. And Coach Prime has certainly set the expectation they want to win, they want to compete for Big 12 championships, and I think that's all fine and dandy, but that's not my expectation right now, and I
Yeah.
got to stick with that. And I think sometimes I get a little bogged down on holding him to his standard instead of the standard that I think should be held to. And it's no disrespect to Coach Prime, but I think those, as we've talked about, and I think we could start here, calling this team a better team than last year, which he has done repeatedly since the spring, is insulting to last year's group. It
Yeah.
is. And I respect the optimism. I respect wanting to set a goal. I respect believing in your guys. It's just not true. There's
Yeah.
no part of it that's true. And through 2 games, you and I said that before the year. And I mean, I feel completely justified, as I know you do, in that right now. So
Well, and
yeah, go ahead.
we haven't heard that since the season started, by the way.
No, and I was considering bringing it up, but I don't know what point there would be to doing that,
Right.
quite frankly. So, yes, that's where I'd like to start. That's number one. Number two, I knew it wasn't going to be pretty this year, right? Like they're going to have to scratch and claw their ways, no matter who's at quarterback to wins. I
Yeah.
think we can both agree on that, especially
Yep.
as we get down the line in the Big 12. That's kind of the nature of the conference, right? It's just
Yeah.
not. It's a weird and wild conference. It kind of has taken some of that old Pac-12 juju, where you have some of those weird late games, and you
Yeah.
never know quite what's going to shake out on a week-to-week basis. So that's number one. And in looking at it through that lens, you got your first win. That's you one
Yep.
down, five minimum to go.
Right.
So that's where I've kind of come to the last couple of days because quite frankly, yeah, they won 31-7 and there were some good things to take, but you looked around the scoreboard last weekend of other Power Four teams that were playing cupcakes, they just rolled right over them, right? I mean,
Right.
was it Florida State that won 70-3 or whatever and there's
Yep.
59-6 and X, Y, and Z. So if you're comparing it to other programs in similar spots around the country, it doesn't look great. But if you're just analyzing it in the context of get to six, that's one down.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I think there's obviously a lot of people that rode with Coach Prime on that. This team is better than last year.
Yeah.
I think anybody that's and we talked about it last week. I don't like to make snap judgments after one game. Um, two, you're 1/6 of the way through the season now. Anybody that's watched these two games and still thinks they're better than last year, I don't know how anybody could say that. I mean,
No, me
they're just
neither.
not. I mean,
No.
that defense last year played a role in some wins last year. Uh, it's hard for me to see this defense playing a role in some big wins. I mean, I think there's look, and again, we're kind of saving quarterback for a minute on purpose, but and they've certainly got a quarterback controversy. I think their biggest problem right now is defense, Matt. I mean, they can't stop anybody,
Brian, they didn't win that game decisively in the trenches was my biggest problem.
right?
And I think it was on
Mm-hmm.
both sides of the
Mm-hmm.
football. And that's a game you should dominate that matchup. Now,
Yep.
I've heard a lot of fans say, well, remember what happened the first two games last year? And it was a different team. It was like, yeah, okay. But they didn't play a Delaware. They played North Dakota
Yeah.
State, who ended up, weren't they in the national title game
I
in
believe. Yeah. I think they.
D2?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
not D2,
FCS.
FCS. Excuse me, FCS. I didn't mean D2.
They didn't win
But
it, did they?
I don't. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. We'd
I
have
can't
to go back
remember.
and look. But either
I
way,
can't
I mean,
remember.
I think they were in the Final Four at a bare
Yeah.
minimum, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's
Hmm.
one. And the other one was the toughest road college environment that I've personally ever seen. I'm sure there's crazier ones in the SEC, but what
Uh-huh.
Nebraska did that day last year was incredibly impressive from a game day atmosphere
Hmm.
perspective. And even still, they didn't get blown out by Nebraska. Like they were able to stem the tide a little bit. They were getting gashed by Delaware pretty hardcore.
Hmm.
And I agree with you. I think defensively, it makes me really nervous about what's coming down the line
Yep.
because it feels like you and I have watched a lot of bad defenses at Colorado, and I'm not necessarily calling this a bad defense, but there are moments where it feels like this is a group that is going to have the game get on top of them and might not be able to provide much resistance, and that's a real problem. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a real
Hmm.
problem, and I expect them to get better, but from the baseline they're starting at, it makes me pretty nervous because you don't
Yeah.
have the veteran leadership, the experience back there, the playmaking back there. I mean, you've got some. And I think one thing we heard from Pat Shermer after the game that really goes to both sides of the ball, offense more than defense, it's all new guys. And there is some youth in some important spots that
Yeah.
just haven't really been there and done that, even in losses, right? Even
Yeah.
last year's team had some guys that had been there and done that in 2023, even if they were getting their butts kicked occasionally. It was still experience and a learning process, and you were investing in guys that you knew had futures. And I think some of these guys do, but it's so much new that I think they're struggling to address everything they need to because it's maybe you've got youth in one spot, maybe it's just inexperience, maybe it's guys playing at a higher level for the first time. I hearken back to something we talked about in the summer where if you look at their recruiting class, it was much more emblematic of 2023 than 2024. You got a lot of FCS guys. You did get some Power Four guys, but they were kind of the guys that were next to the water boys at the bigger school as opposed to, the ones and twos on the depth chart for the
Right.
most part. So I think some of that's playing out early. It is early, but and obviously you brought up we're going to talk quarterbacks in the offense and what that really means overall, but defensively specifically, yeah, man, I'm worried about them having a couple of games that just absolutely get on top of them in conference play.
And look, there's a lot of new on the defense, like you
Yep.
mentioned. There's a lot of youth, but that game the other day, I asked Coach Prime, what did you think about the defense? And he specifically called out, I didn't think this was a good game for Preston Hodge. I
No.
didn't think this was a good game for DJ McKinney. That's two
Mm-mm.
returning starters.
Yep.
He didn't mention Carter Stoutmeyer, but Stoutmeyer, again, on PFF, 4 missed tackles, and I believe it because he was
He
missing.
whiffed.
He
Yeah.
whiffed a lot,
Yeah.
and Carter has not had a good first 2 games, in my opinion. He's struggled a little bit, and so
Week one
that's
better than week two, but yes,
maybe,
I
but
agree.
but that's your 3 veteran guys in the secondary that are back,
Yep.
right? Those are the 3 guys that played a lot last year that are back, and so I mean, some of your best guys on defense are the new guys, and so
Yep.
um, and you can look at it. They've got a lot of takeaways at this point.
Hmm.
But let's be honest, Georgia Tech gave them 2 of them,
Yep.
right? Those are Georgia Tech mistakes, not anything CU caused.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yes, more or less.
yeah, I mean they were bad snaps, right? And well, one was a bad snap, one was a bad handoff.
I
Um,
guess you could attribute that to Arden Walker because he was there, but the point is made that
yeah,
it really wasn't like you were being disruptive. It
nobody
was just,
forced it out. Nobody
yeah,
forced it
yeah,
out.
for sure.
Like Ben did against Delaware. He forced it out, but again, that came at the end of a 67-yard play where you didn't look good that entire play until the very end. Now they made a play. You got to give them credit,
Right.
but Matt, I was texting you this the other day. Two games in, they've given up 31 plays of 10 yards or more. 17 against Georgia Tech, 14 against Delaware. This was a team you were supposed to roll through. And again, Coach Prime's saying this too. You watch well off, when he's talking to the team at halftime, he says, guys, we're not playing very well. We should be dominating this game. Go dominate this game. And at the end of the
Yeah.
game, he says 31-7. We didn't even play that well.
Yep.
So they didn't. He knows it. They didn't
Yeah.
play
Oh,
that
yeah.
well, and so yeah, I guess my bottom line, 2 games in, is I thought 7-5 coming into the year, and you and I were texting this, but I feel worse about this team after this game than I did after Georgia Tech, and
And that, yeah, so go ahead.
after Georgia Tech, I was like, yeah, I'm still on 7-5. I thought that 7-5 would include the Tech win, but I can still see them getting to 7. I look at this one now, and I'm like, especially if they're gonna be messing around at quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not sure. I mean, 6-6. Uh, do they get to 7? I don't know. I mean,
Maybe they win the bowl game.
yeah, but you're gonna need things like maybe K-State is as bad as they look.
Right.
Maybe a couple other teams are just not very good. You're gonna need that, like you got last year. But this team on its own, yeah, I think it's a mediocre team.
I agree. And I said that the other night. Like, this is an average group right now. There's
Yeah.
nothing they do well,
Mhm.
there's nothing they can hang their hat on, and there's no identity. And you're about to enter conference play. And I said the other night, I don't think they're ready for it right now, based upon what we've seen. And
Yeah.
it's a big test. Houston moved up a point. They're now a 4.5 point favorite. They opened 3.5. They're a 4.5 point favorite, and Houston doesn't look like any great shakes either.
Right.
It just kind of tells you what Vegas and the public think about the Buffs. They're not buying them this year,
Yeah.
and now
Mhm.
obviously that can change. And certainly I think they will get better from where they are right now. But if, again, it goes back to what are your expectations? Are you trying to uphold Coach Prime's win every year, no matter what, through the transfer portal
Mhm.
standard? Or are you trying to uphold the, hey, let's grow a little bit, let's develop a little bit, let's make back-to-back bowls? And then you kind of think back, they lead the country with 38 guys in their final year of
Right.
eligibility. Like,
Mhm.
how much development is really taking place this year? So it's confusing. And I think right now they're in a very uncomfortable spot that they're trying to work their way out of.
Yeah.
And one thing, and we haven't talked about the offense, but um, I think the reason why we saw some of the experimentation we did, right, wrong, or indifferent, is I think Coach Prime sees some of the writing on the wall,
Yeah.
and that, like, okay, it's fine right now, but as we have both said, what's coming down the line, the price of poker goes up. And I'm glad you brought up the conference because that's another thing I've been hearing from a lot of fans. Well, the Big 12 is no good anyway. And it's like, well, that might be their saving grace. They're saving grace because if you think about it, if they have to play last year's schedule, that looks totally different, in my
Yeah.
opinion, than this year. Now there's a tough stretch of
Mhm.
games, but last year's schedule with last year's teams, if they had to face DJ Giddens, Devin Neal, Taj Brooks, RJ Harvey, and all those backs that they saw last year, oh, it could get really ugly in
Yep.
in a hurry. And so. at least from where they're at right now. And
Yeah.
again, where I go back to is kind of what we said. And Brian, I remember talking to you after the spring game about this. It's like, be careful talking about that you have a better team than last year because you're going to
Hmm.
set the bar too high
Yep.
for this season. And I think that's kind of where we're at, which
Yep.
is why I came away from this weekend after having some time to think about it, rewatching the game and going, okay, find a path to six this year. Just find your path to six and go from there. And if for some reason you get hot, you figure, you make a change at quarterback, whatever happens, and you got to get lucky a little bit, that's great. But and I remember thinking about this walking away from Memorial Stadium in Lincoln and doing my little post game blogs that I do where I kind of just talk to the camera and give my thoughts after the game, not the post game recaps, but I did some vlogs. And I remember thinking to myself, they're just really not adept right now at coming up with answers and solutions and wrinkles. And
Hmm.
I think that there's some of that ended up taking place because they figured out they had to run the ball against CSU or they were never going to do it all year. And then it got better and progressively better after that. They did get lucky, right? LeJohntay makes the catch against Baylor. Otherwise, the season probably looks a little different. And I'm hoping that's where the trajectory is, but you had Shador and Travis and that wide receiver core last year to bank on.
Hmm.
And even at their worst, you knew they did that really well. You knew
Yeah.
they passed the ball really well. Like I was thinking about this the other night. Like, what does this team do well right now?
Yeah.
I mean, just not even really well, but what are they above average at right now? Punting?
Yeah. I think special teams
Yeah,
is and we talked about it before the season. This is the best special teams unit Coach Prime has had.
easily.
I think that's played out. But other than that, I mean, I'm thinking 2 games in, I'm like, who stood out on defense? Like nobody. I mean,
McKinney, I was looking at PFF's grade, and for all the players on the West Coast, he's like the 10th highest ranked corner just for the West Coast.
yeah,
Like he obviously got burned on one, last week. He's been okay,
yeah,
but he's not Travis.
yeah. And guys like Martavius French, he makes some big plays. He
Yeah,
whiffs on a lot of plays too.
yeah.
He misses some tackles. I thought Reginald Hughes had a solid first game, and then he didn't start the second game. As they're figuring out some things. Defensive line, you're looking at all these seniors on the defensive line, and Brandon Davis Swain comes in there as a freshman and
Right.
and steals a starting job. Jaheim Otis had a nice first game, barely played the other night, or
Quincy
the
Wiggins,
other day.
but you didn't
Yeah,
even notice him against Delaware, and that's a
yeah,
guy that should have had 2, 3 sacks.
right.
Like, you know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
the type of stuff where that Delaware, and look, Delaware's a good program, okay?
Yeah,
They were very successful at the FCS level, but if you truly have a team that is upgraded across the board with quality depth, those are the games that it shows in.
yeah,
And I think in spots it did. And I also think, and I'm maybe this is a good spot to transition into offense, but
yeah.
I think they have a crisis um, um, of intention. And when I say intention, you recruit Caden Salter to be a dual threat guy. You construct an RPO, right? Or at least the foundation of one.
Hmm.
You bring in and spend the most money of anywhere in the offseason up front on the offensive line. But is that really where your talent is? I was thinking about this. Like, if you take away the quarterback position completely, take away Caden, take away Juju, take away Ryan, which room is better, running back or receiver?
Receiver.
Right.
Yeah,
And even though you have the dual threat, you still have to play to your strengths. And I think that we may all have gotten a little bit jaded by the fact that they recruited a dual threat guy because the truth is, as Coach Primus told us, they built this team outside in because that's where he could get his guys.
yeah,
And in year three, yeah, they upgraded the offensive line. It is a little bit better. I wouldn't call it like a huge jump. I know Pat Shermer said they're really better than last year. I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, you look at their grades. I mean, and again, we always say take PFF with a
Hmm.
grain of salt, but I think Seton and Chrysler were rated pretty highly after week one. And Chrysler, I didn't agree with PFF's grade there. But outside of that, I don't think anybody else has cracked the 70,
Yeah.
in two games. And
Yep.
so I go, well, man, like I know you're trying to run the ball and you want to be more balanced, but it's almost as if maybe it was leaned into too much because of the quarterback you were going to have to start as
Yeah.
opposed to the talent you have on your team. And so we're going to talk about quarterbacks, obviously. But before we do, I just wanted to say, like, I had that realization today going, I mean, look at what Sincere Brown can do with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to DeKalen or Micah or
Hmm.
Dallin or Simeon, but Omarion, Draylon, Sincere, Joseph Williams. I mean, these guys those are legit dudes.
Right.
And you designed an offense, truthfully, around what your quarterback could do instead of what I think the strengths of your team are. And maybe that was a failure in evaluation, but I think that went awry somewhere down the tracks and it kind of revealed itself over
Yeah.
the first 2 weeks. And that's why I think we can talk about quarterback, but that's why I think what Ryan did was really eye-opening because he was able at least to get the ball to those guys in somewhat of a consistent basis. I'm not advocate. I'm not saying what I prefer, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just saying I think that's why it pops so much is because that is where the talent is on this team, man. It's
Yeah.
outside,
And,
and
and
he was able to at least get those guys the football in opportunistic moments, and they capitalized. And I think that's where we sit right now.
yeah. And before we go into quarterback, offensive line, I
Mm,
agree with you. I think it's a little bit better. It's not great.
no,
Look, I'm looking at the stats right now. Simeon and DeKalen had a couple of nice runs the other day. Um, but outside of that, they were stuffed at the line a lot. I mean,
stuffed.
Micah Welch has a nice first game, and Delaware was clearly ready for him. 7 carries, 14 yards. And
Hey,
that,
they got
that
stuffed on 4th and 1 by Delaware at one
right.
point, and I went back and rewatched. And I was like, "Oh, that really should never happen." Yeah, I know
Yeah.
it's one
Mhm.
play, but that should never happen, man.
That includes a 10-yarder that Micah had. So his other 6 carries, he has 4 yards. Okay. I want to look here real quick.
Yeah,
Delaware, 11 tackles for loss the other day. Okay. That's insane.
insane.
Okay. This offensive line, it's okay. Um, I think against a solid defensive line,
They're gonna have problems.
they're not gonna run the ball.
No,
I think they're gonna have a hard time. And it's going to you might what's gonna happen is, one of those guys like a DeKalb or something might pop a 30-yarder and you finish with 88 yards,
right?
and it
Yeah,
looks decent.
yeah.
But 139 yards on 131 yards on 39 carries,
That's not great.
3.4, that's not great. And 4 sacks against what was it, four? Five. 5 sacks they gave up the other day. And
And that's why
three of them to your dual threat.
And that's
So
why I have people in my mentions going, "Hey, it's a better line. It's a better line."
yeah,
I'm going, "Are we sure?" Like
yeah,
I'm watching the tape, and sure, there are some good moments. I think there are more good moments than there have been the last 2 years. So credit to them.
yeah,
Like I really don't. I want to make sure we illustrate. I do think it is marginally better. Like I do. I think Xavier Hill's a good player. He's the best left guard they've had in 2 years, 3 years, undoubtedly,
yeah.
undoubtedly.
Hmm.
The right side's a bit of a work in progress. Larry Johnson has been okay at right tackle to the point where you go, I wonder how Philip Houston's doing.
Yeah.
Um, and they played the same five so consistently throughout camp that I also had the thought the other day sitting up in the crow's nest, like maybe it's time to try some of those other guys who we thought, they might have a chance to play because outside of Kareem Harden and then I guess bringing in, I think Yaya played maybe a snap or he had a series with the
He played
twos.
a few. I think he had about 15 plays overall, actually.
Yeah, and so outside of those two guys, I mean, I don't think we've really seen Ogun B yet. I mean, I don't know if these
Hmm.
guys are ready, but maybe they think about, gosh, it's just not where we want it to be. And this is something I said the other night too, and I'm glad you brought it up. Like, okay, they had 139 yards. It didn't look good. Like
Right.
it wasn't a productive a buck 39. And
Yeah.
against Delaware, you should be pushing 200 on the ground. You
Yeah.
really should, especially with the money you spent up front. And it's between that and between their inability to stop the chunk play. That remember that was what killed them in 23 too. Charles Kelly always used to talk
Hmm.
about it's those chunk plays. We can't stop giving up chunk plays. That's what loses you games in college football.
Yep.
And right now, I go back to like just defensively. Like you even brought it up at a more micro level than I did. I said, what do they do well? You said, well, who stands out?
Yeah.
I mean, not nobody over two games combined. I think individual guys have had solid moments. Like I thought
Yeah.
RJ Johnson was much better in week 2 than he was week 1, which is a huge improvement because you can't you can't be able to just you can't be so susceptible on the ground and also get gashed at corner two. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you've got to plug some holes. And I think, hey, that was a good sign that RJ played better because it wasn't just the interception. He made some other big plays
Right.
throughout the course of that game, which
Mhm.
whew, like maybe you're gonna be okay there, or at least
Yeah.
not in such a bad spot. So that was a big sign. And they played Makari Vickers. They played some John Slaughter. They did some different things on third down, against Delaware's scheme. But here's a Houston team, and I just finished watching Houston's, the last two games, and Connor Wegman can huck it. Like their
Yeah.
quarterback can throw and he can run.
Right.
He's not like that's
Hmm.
not his thing, but he can do it. And he's a big guy, kind of like Haynes King.
He,
And they
he's
also
he's a better quarterback than the one that just threw for over 300 yards against this defense.
really well said, Brian. Really well said. As is everybody the rest of the year. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I thought Delaware may have had 74 yards rushing. I thought they ran the ball pretty well by and large too. So
It felt like they were more effective than the yardage showed, right?
I thought so too, buddy. I really did. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like CU had a bunch of sacks. How many sacks did CU have?
Two.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. This is
Yeah.
Delaware. That guy should be worn out. His jersey
Yeah.
should be green. So,
Their top running back, 4.3 per carry. That's maybe why it felt better because he had a solid game.
yes, that
But
guy. Yeah, the 27. He was
yeah,
he was a,
Joe
he's a
Silver.
beast.
Yeah.
Is he? I wonder if he's a senior because if he's not, he should be playing power four ball.
I'm not
Anyway,
sure. He was a backup last year. They're starters with the Saints
got it. Oh
right
yeah,
now.
he's like practice squad guy, isn't
Yeah.
he?
Hmm.
Anyway, so look, this is all beyond the quarterback position. Like the foundation of this team isn't where it needs to be, and the top end talent isn't where it was that carried you in some really, really stinking big moments.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Well,
so we'll see what happens.
and yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of guys that I think you and I probably talked about and would have labeled as, yeah, these are your, whether we want to call them stars, or these are your top players on defense
Hmm.
that haven't been top players. I mean,
Not yet. And
one
Quinn
guy,
Barnes, he's been good, but it's like, okay. I mean, how?
a lot was expected of Jaheim Otis. He had a couple. He had a sequence against Georgia Tech that was really good. He had like two,
Yeah.
three in a row. Again, barely played the other day. I had high expectations for Tawfiq Byard, and I know he was hurt in camp, but he hasn't played much, and he's been behind Ben. He came in and played most of the second half against Georgia Tech, but I don't think he played much the other day.
If he were
Um,
invaluable, the second he was healthy, he would have gone back into the starting lineup, and he
right,
didn't.
right.
Yeah.
There's some, the defensive line. There's Amari McNeil, guys like that. It's like, where are they? Arden Walker. We love Arden Walker.
He
Um,
is. I don't think the numbers have been there. I
he's
would
been
say
okay.
he's been all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's probably been one of the more consistent guys, but
absolutely.
nothing has really been flat. Nothing's flashed, right?
How about this? I was calling for first team All Big 12 preseason,
Yeah,
potentially for Arden. So far, he could still do it, but so
yeah,
far, it's a slow start.
yeah. And one thing I will say is I was actually on a Houston podcast earlier today, and they were asking me a lot of different things about CU, and they were asking about not having a lot of sacks. And I said, well, one thing I'm not going to panic too much is, 4 weeks through the season last year,
Yep.
the talk was these guys can't get to the quarterback, and they
Right.
wound up leading the Big 12 in sacks. So
They had what, 7 at UCF, something like that?
something like that. And like when they
Yeah.
went into that game, they had like, remember, it was like
Yeah, it was nothing.
Deion Hayes had like two, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And Deion was out, and it's like, oh man, they don't even have their
Yeah.
best pass rusher, and they wound up leading the Big 12 in sacks. So I think those guys, I guess everything I'm saying, Matt, is that I think there's things that can get better, but there's concerns I have through 2 weeks that it's like I'm not sure it's going to get as as good and as better as it needs to be.
And let me add one more to this before we really dive into what everybody, wants to hear. But, eventually there's some other stuff too. But guys like Omarion Miller and Samuel Okunlola, who have been bitten by the injury bug really in their
Yeah,
time at CU, they're hurt again. Omarion
yeah,
wasn't practicing today. I'm not sure if Sam was, but I saw well off today, and Omarion's still out. Now he's goofing around at the end of practice with a bad hamstring, which I don't know how, to be honest with you, like I'm not trying to be overcritical and everybody's trying to have fun, but he's been laid up for 2 weeks as their best receiver with a bad hamstring, and he's like playing DB after practice,
yeah.
goofing around with the other guys. I don't know. How seriously are we taking it? I'm sorry. I just felt like it needs to be said because these are some guys that haven't been in the, that haven't had that responsibility on their shoulders yet. And I think they still think they're a little, they're better than they are. And I'm a little bit worried that there's still a big wake up call coming. And I don't know if it's this week. I don't know if it's against Wyoming. I think the one saving grace for them is they do get the Wyoming game. And this is probably their most winnable conference game
Mm.
of the season, would you say? So
Yeah,
you almost have like a 4 game preseason. And the way they treated how they rotated everybody in against Delaware was almost like a preseason game.
yeah.
It really was. Like it was
That's
the
what was weird
college
about it.
version of it.
Hmm. I'd said to somebody at halftime, like I've never seen a coach treat a close game like a scrimmage. And I mean, it felt like a spring game at halftime, didn't it? It's like
A hundred
you're just
percent.
kind of rolling through, like, all right, two series, two series, two series, and it was interesting. And not just quarterback. I mean, quarterback is what gets highlighted, but they're doing that at other positions too. It's like they're still trying guys out all over the place.
The plan to go into a game with a predetermined set of series you want to allocate, it worked for them, but it's pretty wild to take that approach.
Yeah,
Like I was thinking about that too. Like, and we were texting throughout the course of the game. Salter leads 2 scoring drives.
yeah,
Conventional wisdom would have you believe that you keep rocking with him because he's the guy you brought in to be your starter.
yeah,
You want to continue to get him experience. This is the one time to really get him
hmm,
comfortable, but you predetermined your plan here.
yeah,
And again, there's been a lot of fan pressure and there's been certain media pressure for Juju Lewis. And unfortunately, I don't think outside of the only people outside of you and I that I've heard that from about Julian's youth and needing to be careful is Coach Prime.
hmm,
Quite frankly, I mean, you and I have been saying that since
hmm,
they got him. Like, I mean, I remember we even had some lunch bet that I didn't think they were gonna. I thought they were just gonna hand the keys over, right? Wasn't that the lunch bet that we had? And
yeah,
then they eventually got Salter, but you and I basically said, I mean, of course you kind of had to get somebody. He was 17, he's gonna be 17 to
yeah,
start the year. And sure, he could be incredible, but like at that position, more than any other position in all of sports, you have to know so much just from a mental standpoint to
hmm,
really be good at that position, unless you're just some freakazoid athlete who can turn something out of nothing,
hmm,
which is not who he is. He's got a really good passing arm. He's a wonderful pocket passing prospect.
yeah. And to your point right there, and I guess this is our transition into quarterback is that's why Ryan Staub looks so good because who knows more about this offense right now in that room than Ryan Staub. And one last thing before we get totally into quarterbacks is that predetermined plan told me two things. One, they didn't take Delaware seriously.
At all.
They thought, yeah, well, we're going to mop you guys up with no matter who plays quarterback. And two, they don't fully believe in Caden Salter.
100%.
And you know,
Do you think they would have ever done that with Shador?
absolutely not. Are you kidding
so,
me? Because
so
there were
that's there's case in point that what
Matt,
we're saying.
the answer to that is you look there. I'm trying to think what games they had, but they had a couple games where I think it was it
CSU at the
23.
end of the CSU game on the road, they could have
Yeah,
sat
they had a
Shador
couple
and they
games
kept
where
him
it's
in
like,
there.
all right, there's no point in you playing this guy, and they still kept him in there.
Hmm.
And so they kept Shador in some games where you're like, what are you doing? Like, why is he still out there in the fourth quarter when this game is totally done? And they still didn't do it. So no, they never would have done that with Shador. And so that's what the two things it told me was we don't take Delaware seriously and we don't fully believe in Kaidon Salter.
And so I want to say this, and we can get into it. But here's why I think they don't. Okay. And again, I'm not giving an opinion here. I guess I am. I'm. This is what I've interpreted from Coach Prime. I think he's frustrated
Mhm.
because there have been some layups there, and Caden's just straight up missed.
Yeah.
And those are the plays that he was supposed to be able to make.
Yeah.
We're on the run.
Yeah.
And the truth is that because it's a 1 year rental type of guy, there's a realization that has to come down the line where if you're not sold and if you can see the writing on the wall with him,
Mhm.
because God, you couldn't have had it any better. It can't look any better than that, and you missed it.
Mhm.
Man, I have been dialed into Coach Prime on the sideline while everybody's been in there, but I'm always am up in the crow's nest, and I'm telling you right now, there have been some reactions physically and emotionally from Coach Prime, which have been completely justified that I never saw when Shador made a bad play. Not ever. And the reason why, and here's why, and I wrote this down. It's a live fire thing that I don't think they really fully saw in practice. Like it's a bit of a bullets are flying,
Mhm.
it's bigger, faster, stronger. The whole game is faster, and it's a decision-making thing. The one time he did not tuck and run and threw maybe it was to set up the field goal. I can't remember which. It might have been on their first drive. There was one play where he throws the ball when he's got a wide open first down on the ground, and
Yeah.
I went like this, and I was looking at Coach Prime, and he's like, I mean, as demonstrative as you're gonna see him, really frustrated. And here's what I think it is. He can't trust him as a passer, and he can't trust him as a runner. And there was another play where Salter actually scrambles up the left side for a huge first down in the first half. It was like a 16, 17, maybe even a 20 plus yard run. And when he gets to the outside, there is such a clear lane through two blockers with Jordan Seaton in front of the two blockers that if
Mhm.
Kaidon just sees it, and he's gone for like a
Mhm.
70-yard touchdown. And Jordan is literally going like this to Kaidon. Like
Yeah.
he's looking at him and running ahead of him. And Caden's like kind of like huddling behind the receiver that's right in front of him. And then he kind of like sees it late and gets tackled. And Jordan kind of goes like that because it was six. And
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, okay, the reason he and I think it was predetermined anyway, but I think Salter sealed his fate when they settled for three because he missed back-to-back throws in the end zone that Coach Prime wasn't happy about either. And they were tougher routes, but he missed those two. And then he's making those mistakes in the running game. And you're going, oh man, like if I'm gonna be average this year, do I want to do it with Kaidon Salter, who's gonna be gone next year?
Yeah.
And look, Ryan Staub's gonna be here next year. I
Yeah.
don't know if Juju's necessarily going to be ready. Everybody's like, hey, we're going to hand it right over to Juju. Coach Prime is not going to do that if he does not think Julian Lewis is ready.
Right.
And having Ryan Staub there, who will be going into his senior year, having spent
Junior year. He'll be a junior.
next year, redshirt
Yeah. Yeah.
junior.
He's always sophomore now.
Right. And so my point but
Yeah.
technically a
Yeah.
senior. He'll have been
Fourth
in the
year.
program for
Fourth
four
year.
years. Think
Mhm.
about the amount of time you could have left with him in your
Mhm.
program. Like, man, if he's going to show me a little something, I know he's going to be here. I want him here now. He could
Yeah.
transfer and maybe he will. But if I'm Ryan, the way that they kind of look at Juju, I'm going, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, depending upon what happens and what we think he should do, here's what I'll say. When we talked to Coach Prime after the Utah game when Ryan started in 2023, I think I asked him to evaluate Ryan's play. And, I said, what do you think about the future of Ryan? He's like, I imagine he's going to hop in the portal because he's going to
Yeah.
want an opportunity
Mhm.
to play. Who would have ever thought that Ryan Staub would be in the position that he might be in right now. And I'll tell you what, from well off, from whatever they chose to show, and maybe it was strategic, but he was taking reps with the ones. And today was the very first day since Kaidon Salter has been on campus that he took reps with the twos that I have seen.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I sure as hell think it's going to be Ryan Staub on Friday when we go down to Houston.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, if Ryan Saab wanted to transfer, he would have done it already.
Right,
You know, and
right.
and we all thought, you're number two behind Shador for 2 years. The kid's graduating. It's your job, right? No, they sign a 5-star. And then they go get a transfer. Now you're number three. Ryan Saab's not staying here.
That's what
And
you and I thought. I
and then
mean,
he
we thought he'd
did.
be gone.
So here's my thing on Caden, and you and I have gone back and forth.
Yeah.
I've told you since Saturday, I'm like, look, I would still rock with Kaidon Salter. I truly believe Caden's the best quarterback on this team. I think he gives them the best shot to win. I really do. But when I listen to your points and stuff, I think you make good points in that I think Caden's got the shortest leash
Hmm.
in this room. And while I think that he's been okay and he's been fine, I think that he's being held to a higher standard. And if
Yes.
that's not what Coach Prime wants it to look like, you're done.
You're done. You're done.
And
I
so
thought the same thing, Brian.
it's and I mean going back and forth in my mind since the other day because I still think it should be Caden.
Yeah, I
Um,
understand. And look,
but
I understand that. It's we're
and I
through two
look at
games.
I look at the Delaware game and I'm like, you know what? Kaidon Salter, well, let's go back to Georgia Tech. Kaidon Salter admittedly had nerves. Coach Prime
Right.
said it, Caden said it. There was some nerves. He still gave you a shot to win that game at the end. Um, you know, maybe if you use a timeout or two, you got an even better shot. Who knows? That's last week's debate. Um, he comes out this last week, 6 for 6 on the opening drive, and then finishes it with a touchdown run. That's what you needed to see from Kaidon Salter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then he comes out the second drive. Yeah, maybe miss a throw or two. You still get your points. You're 10-0. And in my mind, I'm saying up in the press box, I'm like, you can't switch quarterbacks now. I mean, he's scoring. Get the lead first.
Right.
And so then Juju comes in. There's a couple punts. It's like, all right, 45 seconds left. Get it back to Caden. See if he can put together a drive at the end of the half. Ryan comes in. I'm like, what are they doing here? So I guess my point is, I didn't think Caden did anything to lose the job,
He did not, Brian. He didn't do anything to lose the job
other
except for not
than
be sharp.
other than the points you're making right now is that what
Right.
he's doing to lose the job is not doing what Coach Prime wants.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so many different ways to win, right?
Right.
And you can look at it and say, ultimately, who cares? Like Pat Shermer says, like he jokes and he said it a couple times. This joke, he goes,
Oh,
"We just
right.
got to get in the end zone." He goes, whether we run it, throw it, DM it, text it, whatever. He's trying to
Right.
make a
Yeah.
joke.
100%.
And ultimately, that's all that matters, right? Who
Yep.
cares if it's Zach Atkins, if it's DeKalen Taylor, if it's Simeon Price, whatever. But Coach Prime cares because he's got all those receivers. And you look at the stats right now. Draylon Miller's got 14 receiving yards through 2 games.
He had one target in
He had
against
one target
Delaware.
the other day. Okay. Um, Hakeem Williams, he's got a couple catches. Uh, Joseph Williams, 4 for 55 the other day. The only guy with 100 yards for the season is Sincere Brown, and that's because he had 71 on one catch. He didn't even make a catch. He didn't have a catch the first game.
I know.
So when you've got all that talent receiver, and you've talked about it, and this guy's not getting the ball to that talent, that particular talent. I mean, I look at it. Caden's doing just fine, but he's getting the ball to the wrong guys almost.
Be hitting the ball to the wrong guys, Brian.
You
And
know,
that's what I talked to you about at the spring game. And I said, like, I'm really worried because they're going to go RPO, but they've spent the least at tight end and running back. And when you run a real RPO, like look at the
Hmm.
Kansas game, they
Hmm.
had like four tight ends. And remember, I kept telling you in the summer, I'm like, you need like three of these guys and guys that you could really rely on
Yeah.
to do multiple things. And they got one who's mediocre at blocking at
Yeah.
best in Zach. And I really
Hmm.
like Zach. It's not a shot at him. He will get better. I think
Yeah.
by the end of his CU career, Zach Atkins is going to be a hell of a player. I
Hmm.
truly believe that. They
Yeah.
should have gotten him the ball more this last weekend. He
Yeah.
should at least have 5 targets a game. I'm not kidding. He's
Yeah.
that much of a mismatch as a tight
By the way,
end.
he had one catch for 7 yards. It was on the third offensive snap of the game.
I remember. And then I was like, oh, sweet. Third play, they're going to get him
Yeah.
involved. They're going to use him in the middle of the field.
Hmm.
Never saw the ball again.
Yeah.
And all you saw were the bubble screens to nowhere because Delaware did nothing but prepare for that because that's
Right.
all they ran
Hmm.
against Georgia Tech. I mean, it almost got, and there was Draylon made a mistake on that play on the second play of the game, but Delaware was so keyed up because
Hmm.
that's all they saw. It almost got him knocked out cold because he made one little mistake
Yeah.
and he got flattened. And so, and then Pat kept going back to it. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back to the quarterback because I really thought this through, and I wrote all of this stuff. I wrote all I like it's all about the quarterback, and
Yeah.
I thought this through, and I'm like, here's the problem with Caden. He cannot consistently miss the throws that he's been missing and win games at this level. You can't miss like that and miss those opportunities. You can maybe do it against Delaware and come back and stack the points on. But I thought about it this way. I think back to what, and look, Ryan Staub has a lot to prove. He called two hot routes on go routes, and I can pull up a video of me on my phone playing high level flag football quarterback and calling an audible go route and hitting a touchdown. I got it
Yeah.
right here. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Like that's not all that he recognized the coverage. Now, Ryan had the chutzpah and the balls, quite frankly, to tell Pat, you know what? Forget the hitch. I'm going out here to sincere and we're going deep.
Yeah.
But you know why he did it? Because he watched Shador do it for
Yeah.
2 years, and he watched Shador be the offensive coordinator.
And you know why he did it is because he and Pat are on the same page more than
Page,
anybody else.
right?
And Pat probably saw that and was like, okay, that's fine, Ryan. You know my offense,
I bet you Pat didn't have a problem in the world with it. I'm
especially
not
when they're
sure.
complete.
I'm not sure. Well, that, but it was also the right thing to do. It was
Mhm.
man coverage on the outside with a guy who's 6'5" and can run
Right.
like the wind.
And what did Pat say after the game? He goes, he thinks like a quarterback.
And,
That line
and
right there
right,
says a lot. And
it says a lot.
yeah,
And
but
so, while conventionally you don't look, it would be really unfortunate, but I don't think it's because Caden lost a job, but he didn't win it. And that's what you and I both said. If Caden looked that good, he'd have never taken him out after two
yeah.
series. Caden missed two consecutive throws that they had to settle for a field goal against. And here's I want to put it this way. I thought back to when we talked to Shermer uh, it was either like December or February or something like, or March or something like that. And we were talking about Shador. He goes, I think of it this way. It's third and forever. It's windy. It's rainy. Game's on the line. You got to have it.
Hmm.
Who do you want back there? And it's not that I don't think that Salter can't get it done in some of those moments. But what I think you have to do for him is change the offense. If you go back and you watch what they did on that first drive, I have to give Shermer a lot of credit because, I've definitely given him criticism with some of the bubble screens. And again, personally, I hate doing this to Pat Shermer because on a personal level, I really like the man. And I know you do too. He's been nothing but fantastic to us. And this
Yeah.
is nothing personal. So I just want to put that out there. But we just have to look at what they're doing. I got to give him credit because he changed. He put the hitches in. The route combinations weren't all the way down the field. Like he actually made, in my opinion, some really good corrections offensively from week 1 to week 2, and
Hmm.
they got a lot of success out
Right.
of it.
Hmm.
But it was a 1-2 read for Salter. It was one read, two read, and if nothing's there, go. That's all. I don't know if he can handle more than that, Brian, because when he's got to get out of the pocket and make a play when it's out of structure, that was supposed to be what he was really good at.
Yeah.
And so far, he's been entirely indecisive. He's made errors both in the run and the pass game. And when he's had the chances, he hasn't grabbed them. And he's a fifth year guy, or isn't he?
Yeah.
Or a fourth year guy, or is he five?
He's fifth year. Yeah.
He's fifth year. He's fifth year. You should be right. You should be more ready to go than he is right now, which is where I think Coach Prime's a little frustrated. And Ryan said, "Give me the keys." And Coach Prime likes the moxie, and Coach Prime likes a lot of people have him all wrong. It really is a meritocracy under him, quite frankly, except for maybe, one situation I can maybe a couple. But excuse me. I'll sip and think on that one. But it really is. If you can play, I don't care if you're a walk on, you're getting on the
Hmm.
field. Cash
Hmm.
Cleveland started at center. And you know what? They may have paid Juju a bunch of money, and they may have paid Caden a good chunk of money too. But right now, I think Ryan Staub makes the most sense. Now, that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is like you were alluding to. If it's Salter, the pressure's on. And you're a fifth year guy and you've got very little leash left because it should have been way better. And I'm worried that it's going to be like this. And if it's going to be like this, what am I getting out of this season?
Hmm.
Not a lot, because I got 38 guys who aren't going to be here next year, and I'm built to win. That's at least how I've believed I've built my roster, and I'm looking for the best chance to win. And right now, if it's this or if it's a development for the future, would you rather be mediocre with Caden or would you rather be mediocre with Ryan? And I don't mean mediocre in such a harsh tone. I mean, would you rather win 6 games with Caden Salter or Ryan Staub? And the
I
reason I
mean,
say this is because Ryan's going to be here next year. Like, you got to think about that, I think.
I guess. I mean, when you put it that way, my answer would be
Who
either
cares?
either way.
Win it. And maybe they
Either
both
way.
play, Brian. But here's what I thought about that. If I were going to play both of those guys and it were me, I would rather Caden be my change of pace guy because I'm not going to ask him to take a bunch of shot plays, but he can do it because he's a
Mhm.
good play action passer. So teams probably are going to be expecting the run. If I bring him into the game, I can hit you over the top with a shot because I'm really not worried about him having to warm up. He can throw that. I mean, he can air the football. I'll give him that. He's got a cannon. He really does. When he threw that
Mhm.
ball like 65, almost 70 yards in the air to Draylon against Georgia Tech, and I was on the
Mhm.
field, I was like, that's a better arm than Shador had. He
Yeah.
has a stronger arm than Shador, like no question. Shador had, I mean, infinitely better quarterback on every level,
Yeah. Right.
imaginable. But at least Caden can huck it. Like, and not only that, I think Caden can hit the hitches. And I don't need to build a rhythm for Caden to hit a hitch. He's a fifth year guy. He can come off the bench and hit a hitch. I need Ryan Staub to build a rhythm. And that's why, if I were going to do that and go to Staub, I would play him first and have Caden as my change of pace guy if I were going to play two quarterbacks. And you know what? As much as I hate the platoon thing, maybe this is just the year that they're going to play two.
Yeah. Uh, and with Ryan, here's my thought on Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you this is that I what he did the other day was awesome and it was exciting. It's a fantastic story. And I've texted you this, so we've gone back and forth, but like he did that against basically an FCS team. I know they're FBS now, they're transitioning. He did that against an FCS team
Absolutely.
that had no idea he was going to play and had no film on him,
I
right?
mean,
Uh,
technically, but they wouldn't have
if
prepared
they
for him.
went back and watched the Utah game of
It would be a very
2023,
big surprise.
I'd be surprised,
Yeah.
honestly. And
Yeah.
maybe they are that prepared, but um, it's an FCS team that didn't think he was going to play, right? And frankly, didn't have the corners, didn't
No,
have anybody that could
no,
cover
no, no,
Sincere
no,
Brown, right?
no.
And look, of the 157 yards that Ryan threw for, which is a nice number, 110 of those came on two passes to Sincere Brown that he saw a big mismatch and hit him.
100%.
You're
You
not going to
have
have
to
that mismatch
consider
every
this.
time. And so,
Brian, you're so I just want to say, like, I want to validate what you're saying. You have to consider this side of it, which I guarantee you is part of the
yeah,
plan that Coach Prime has been thinking about.
yeah, you're going to face better corners. And I just believe that coming off the bench against an FCS team that had no idea you were going to play is way different than going on the road on a Friday night in your conference opener for a team that now has film on you.
Fair enough.
This is why I think Kaidon Salter gives you the best shot to win because, and I love Ryan Staub, super nice kid, right? I think that was Ryan Staub's ceiling.
It might
I'm
have
not
been, Brian.
I'm not sure
It
that we're
might
going
have
to
been.
see him be any better than that. I think Caden can get better. I think there's some growth in Caden, and I still think what we're seeing out of Caden, I still like it better overall because the end of that first drive, what does Caden do? Nothing's open. He takes off and runs it in for a touchdown. These other guys aren't doing that.
By like that much though.
It doesn't
Like
matter.
he,
He
but
got
yeah,
it.
I know. I was just
So,
teasing.
but and
I'm kidding.
if
I'm
he
kidding.
doesn't
I'm
get it,
kidding.
he's out the one, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he brings an element that you don't have. I think that he's when you go through conference play, I think he's going to be the better guy. Now, all that said, okay, I've I've believed since Saturday. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, they're going to go with Salter because of all that, right? Since Saturday, we've all been thinking about it, right? I went and watched the well off video, Bucky's version of that game. And have you watched it yet?
When he comes off the field.
The way that team rallied around
Oh,
Ryan
buddy, you
Staub,
could feel it.
and Coach Prime mentions I wrote a story today, Monday as we're doing this, about Coach Prime's comments. Like he's like, guys, this is talking to the media. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, he goes, you're not down there. I don't know if you could feel it from where you were, but oh my gosh, you could feel it. The linemen. He goes, not that they like him better, but there's just they flip a switch. And and so I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of Coach Prime. Like that's what Coach Prime wants.
Yes,
Is
it
that guy
is.
flipped the switch and energized the team? Yep, let's do that. And and so I've changed my mind since Saturday. I'm like, you've got to go with Salter, all that. I
Yeah.
still believe you have to go with Salter, but I believe they're going to start Ryan Staub because of that, because I think Coach Prime's going to ride that wave as long as it can go.
Did you see?
And Ryan Staub, real quick,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think he's going to ride it with Ryan starting. And if it looks bad early, okay, fine, you go back to Caden.
Who cares?
But I'm going
It,
to ride this as long as it
yes,
can go.
I agree. I think he should. And you know what? He's a feel guy, right? He
Yeah,
goes by his gut and he goes by intuition. And I'm telling you, I told you after the game, like, I would just do it. Like, what
yeah.
do you like? It's just, I don't think the difference between them is going to be that significant. Like, even if that's Ryan's ceiling, he's at least getting the ball outside, man. Like, Caden has not really at all done that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how you have Omarion Miller for a full game and only target him one time is pretty crazy. Like, I mean, even
Mhm.
not just try to force him a look. It's pretty crazy. I don't think Staub would do that. Like, I went back and I actually watched the highlights of the Utah game. He
Yeah.
threw Travis Hunter 3 touchdowns in that game. Two of them got taken off the board. One of he
Right.
did. He hit
Right.
Travis
Mhm.
late for one to make it 23 to or 20 to 23-17. It was a really nice like post from the slot, but he hit Travis twice in the first half. Once up the sideline, they said Travis stepped out, and the second one they said the ball hit the ground in the end zone, and I never believe it did. In fact, I'll never forget going to the bathroom, or maybe it wasn't just going to the bathroom. We were just all up in the press box, and Pat Shermer came out of the press box. They took 2 fucking touchdowns away from the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, excuse the language, folks, but that's a direct quote.
And how you've had Draylon Miller for two full games, he's got three catches.
I know. Well, you know who was working with him after practice was Staub. Staub and Draylon Miller were alone, just talking about, hey, this is what I want, and
And
what really did it for me to
and that's two of your leaders on this team, though, too.
100%. Oh my
Yeah.
God, no, no,
Mhm.
no, Salter wasn't there.
Yeah.
That I saw, not in. I think it was Reach the People had that today. Shout out
Yeah.
Darius, who I saw today in a funny interaction when I was up there. Anyway, uh, point was the moment that really did it for me, it was like, yeah, okay, everybody rallies. Everybody loves the backup quarterback when they play well, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the old adage.
Yeah.
The most popular guy on the team's a backup quarterback. But I watched the way the team reacted to him after the win when Coach Prime called him up. I don't know that they would have done that for Caden. Maybe, I mean, they maybe would have given Caden like a
I
big
think they
cheer.
would have.
It was
I,
just different. It just felt like there was it just felt different. It wasn't like they don't like him, and I'm not trying to make it seem like that.
yeah.
everybody loves the underdog. And Coach Prime
Yeah.
has been talking about Rudy. And he's, Rudy Staub. It's kind of what it felt like. Now, it's
By the
four
way,
drives.
I cried the first time I watched Rudy too. It's one of my favorite movies.
Did you?
So
Yeah.
I'm with Coach Prime on that one.
It was four drives. It was four drives. Three of them were touchdown drives.
Hmm.
Okay. It looked pretty good on the whole. The offense moved smooth. And I think that is the biggest problem that Caden has had is not, well, first of all, we talked about what I feel like he's missing the throws that he has to make to extend drives. I don't know if he's hit one of those yet. Like I'd have to go back and watch like a throw where you go, okay, he hit the intermediate throw. He didn't.
Yeah.
Staub was looking for it. Staub stepped up on a third down and drilled it to Joseph Williams. That was really impressive to me.
Yeah.
Like those are the throws you have to make. And Staub can hit a hitch. I'm not worried about Staub hitting a
He hit
hitch.
that opening drive the other day. He hit Joseph Williams for a 9-yard pass on a 3rd and 5.
Yep, it was a hitch. I'm pretty. Oh, no, no, no. It was the out. It was the out because he was in 10 personnel, or might have
Hmm.
been 11, and he had two to the short, he had two to the tight, and Joseph Williams ran. It was his first read. That was my point. Is that I thought Pat Shermer did a much better job
Actually did it.
designing the offense for him.
Yeah, did the same thing on his second drive too. 3rd and 5. Actually, both of them were right near midfield. And he hits Joseph Williams again for a 9-yard pass. Has a
That one
third
I
and
think was a hitch.
may have been. I don't remember exactly,
Yeah,
but um, yeah, he was 3 of 4 on third down passing the other
he
day,
did a great job designing him easy looks. And there's, you know what? To your point,
or at least in the
there's
first 2 drives, he was 3 of 4.
And to your point, there's no reason he can't do that. But
Yeah,
Caden's got to start playing with the firecracker up his ass if he's going to be a dual threat quarterback, Brian.
yeah,
Like he's got to go and he's got to hit it, man. He's not hitting it right now. And you know what? There is nothing Coach Prime hates more from 3 years being around the guy and listening to the guy when his runners don't hit the hole the way he likes, you'll never play for him again.
yeah.
Alton McCaskill never saw the field because he never thought he got right from the knee. Don't you
Hmm.
remember him talking about it? He's just not hitting it. Like he's not hitting it. Caden isn't hitting it right now, and
Hmm.
that really bugs him. And if you can open up the offense by actually getting the ball to some of these wicked athletes like you have on the outside. If Caden can't get it outside the numbers and get the intermediate passing game going, and maybe you start with him. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you don't. Like I'm just saying,
Hmm.
like I think they're gonna go stop and maybe just get it over with, and then
Yeah.
bring Caden in as your change of pace guy.
Hmm.
But if you can't open that part of our offense up against Delaware, why do I think you're going to be able to do that in conference play? And
Yeah.
here's one other point that we haven't even brought up. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. There are a lot of things in practice that Coach Prime is the one coach that I have seen value practice maybe more than any coach I've ever covered. Quite frankly, in any
Hmm.
sport, like it is so important to him how you perform. The other coaches say it, but it is all that matters. Really,
Yeah.
it really
Hmm.
doesn't matter what happens on game days. We've heard that there have been frustrations with how he's run things in practice because of it's hard to simulate.
Hmm.
Maybe that's carrying over.
Right.
And maybe there's more to the story that we don't know as well, which kind of led him to going, let's just open this thing up.
Yeah. And I think I'm assuming, I know I did, going into last week, thought, yeah, it makes sense to say you're going to play Julian Lewis because this is Delaware
Right.
and you just want to see what you have. Um, it's clear this was more of a competition that he wanted to open up than anything else. And, you know, Coach Prime, one other thing we've learned about him, trust is huge for Coach Prime.
Huge.
That's why Alejandro Mata is the kicker here.
A
He
hundred
trusted him,
percent.
and that one year at Jackson State brought him here. What quarterback would he trust the most right now? Ryan Staub.
100%.
Because Ryan
Easily.
Staub's going to run Pat Shermer's offense. If you tell Ryan, I want you to do this, Ryan's going to go do it.
Yep. And
And
that's what a coach needs at
this wave
quarterback.
may not continue. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have changed my mind, Matt. I said a little bit ago, but um, my prediction is Ryan Staub starts this game because he's going to ride that wave as long as you can. And it may not, he may come out and Houston's ready and just
Icarus.
destroys
The
him.
story of Icarus, the
And,
boy
and
who flew too close to the sun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe it's an ugly first quarter and you go back to Caden and Caden wins you the game and we're doing this again next week. I don't know, but I am gonna say right now, I believe that Ryan Staub starts because there's that trust factor, and because you know it. I mean, his plan was he's the one guy the other day that earned a third drive
Yep.
and then a fourth because Coach Prime said it. He goes, they were all going to get two, 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 but it was looking so good that I gave Ryan two more.
Martin Luther Staub.
Yeah, Martha stuff. So I believe while I would start Kaidon Salter, I think they're going to go Ryan Staub, and I see all the reasons why.
And like I see the reasons to go Salter too. I really do. More experience. He's got 31 starts now in college, if I'm
As
not
opposed to one.
mistaken, as opposed to one.
Yeah,
But I think with Coach Prime, I'm seeing he always sees ahead. He's always 5 steps ahead. He really is. I
mhm.
mean, a lot of people don't understand how he conducts business. He is always looking down the road. He's not going to get ahead of himself publicly, but they plan for all this stuff. And
Yeah,
I think he can see the writing on the wall here and going, and what do they got to lose? Like you said, Staub comes out, gets picked on the first play. You go to Salter. The offense, they've been working on it all fall. If you want to prepare anybody to be a starter, might as well prepare Ryan Staub because honestly, he hasn't gotten the reps. And here was the other thing, reps wise. Staub came off the bench cold in with the ones and looked more comfortable immediately than Caden has looked in 2 games with those guys. Did you notice that? Like it was seamless. It was like the way he got everybody up to the line. He could run tempo. Salter hasn't been able to run tempo to save his life,
yeah.
unfortunately, because they can't get the calls in fast enough and they're changing personnel.
I
Staub
will.
knows what they're doing.
I will say when they brought him in, sitting next to colleague Pat Rooney, and we're like, yeah, 45 seconds left, fine. They're gonna kneel on it, and they come out throwing. Those first two throws were almost picked.
Yeah.
They were not great,
I mean,
and
it's
then
coming in cold, baby, warming up the arm. You got
I
to get her
know,
loose.
and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it wasn't flawless.
No.
Um, both of them were almost picked, and then it's a DeKalin Taylor run that kind of gets you loose, gets you going, and then he goes and he's 7 for 8 from that point on. I don't remember what the other incompletion was, but um, yeah, I mean it's yeah, you go on feel, and I don't know what else you want to say about. We said a lot about the quarterback. Um,
I, I got something else for you.
yeah,
This is a little birdie told me today, and uh, should I say this? They might not be the only school on the Front Range making a quarterback change this weekend.
oh, that's got to be obvious, right? I mean, come on. When you were
I hate them. So
this is a little tangent, but
yeah.
when you were talking about Travis Hunter being robbed in Utah,
Hmm.
what's a bigger robbery? What happened to Travis Hunter in Utah, or what happened to UNC up in Fort
Oh my
Collins the other day?
God.
Because holy cow! I mean,
Holy cow. 34.5 point favorite
the
and
fact
should
that
have
CSU
lost.
was in that position
It was so fortunate.
is egregious. I mean, they
It,
deserve
you
to
know,
lose that game because they were in that position.
I
But
know.
there's the fact that the guy from UNC makes the catch and
Yeah.
should have legitimately beat you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
They've got to buy
BFN
this. They
baby.
got to buy this week, and so I think they're call the
Bye,
pen. Brought to you by
bye.
Applejack Liquors. Are you at the bottom
Yeah,
of your fifth?
yeah.
I think that might be happening. Nobody go take that and post that.
Can you? Yeah. Can you make trades
Seriously, don't do
mid-season
that.
in college? Is there mid-season trades? But
Mid-season trades.
yeah, this week's will be interesting, Matt. So let's before we get out of here, let's just do real quick. What do you think is going to happen to Houston?
Oh God, I don't know. Um,
I will say real quick.
hmm. Yeah, I don't know,
We're
Brian.
talking. You were talking earlier about. I'll go first,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can think about it. You were talking earlier. Thank goodness that this defense doesn't have to face last year's schedule with all
Uh-huh.
those running backs. I mean, Dean Connors from Houston could run on this defense right now. I mean,
I know
like
he motored the other day
I
against
know
Rice.
that's his former team, by the way, so he was
I know
pretty
2
motivated.
touchdowns, 130
Um,
something yards.
and I know they played Stephen F. Austin and Rice, who's not a good football team,
Right. They
but
haven't played anybody either.
they haven't played anybody. But
CU can at least say that they played Georgia Tech and they played
Yeah,
a high quality opponent who, by the way, Haynes King happened to miss the game last week because he was so
yeah,
banged up from the bruising that he gave to Colorado's defense
yeah.
in week one.
Although I'm guessing if they were playing a real opponent, Haynes King would
Yes,
have
I'm sure
played.
he would have played.
I don't remember who George. I don't know who they played, but
Enough
they
to sit out a game, which he wouldn't have done if he weren't feeling great.
and I think they won the game by 60 points anyway, didn't they?
Well, that's kind of what you do to one of those teams. And that's where we're kind of concerned. Even though we're talking about
Yeah,
an FBS team in Delaware,
59-12. Sorry, they didn't win it by 60.
they should have put up 50 points on that team. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, there's no doubt about it. If they
and look,
didn't mess around with the quarterbacks, if Juju didn't get 2 drives, which to be honest, I'm glad he did because I think there's something there, but I think there's a lot of people around here that needed to see what they saw. And I'll give him credit. I
yeah,
went back and watched. He's not as far off as a lot of people might think. I'm gonna tell he saw pressure.
yeah,
He motored around. If there was nobody open, he didn't throw it. If you had to throw him in there right now, and now we're deep in the pod, so I'll say this. There could come a point in this season where I'm saying the last 3 games where you just go, okay,
yeah. I mean, if
we're putting him out there. We're
honestly,
putting him out there and we're going to let him sink or swim. What are we gaining from not doing it? What are we gaining from not doing it?
yeah,
I mean, that he'll be 18. He'll have almost a full season of watching and learning. Hey, at least Ryan Staub has been to TCU and knows what that feels like on game day. At
right,
least he started at Utah, so he'll have had that experience from 2 years ago of actually having gone on the road. I think that does matter. Rice
yeah,
Eccles is not an easy place to play. Like at least having had been there, he'll
yeah,
have that he'll have had that experience. He'll have been at TCU when the crowd was insane, when that day was insane. Like
yeah. It's standing on the sidelines,
I'm
though.
just saying. It doesn't matter. Well, not at
It
Utah.
does.
At Utah, he wasn't. He started
Utah
at
wasn't.
Utah.
I know, but yeah.
I'm just saying. My point was at least
And
he's done
if
that.
Cam Rising plays that game,
Of course,
CU gets
Brian.
mopped up. We know that, right? I will say this: if they're say 3-6 going into the last 3 games, okay,
Ripcord it.
and
Ripcord it.
what?
I said ripcord it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if if Staub isn't the answer, and
Right.
you're really
Which
not believing in Salter, and frankly, if you're going to Staub, who knows if you lose Salter, right? Mentally, if not all the way, right? And if it really doesn't work out, and you're 3-6,
Salter
just
could say
start
screw it, redshirt himself and throw himself into the portal early.
right.
Like he could do that.
Yeah, he's already redshirted though. He'd have
As he
to.
oh well then he
Yeah.
can't. So audio
Uh,
so I mean
I mean, these days though, you can try to petition for another year and you can probably get it. But yeah, if you say 3-6 going those last 3 games, just play Juju,
agreed.
and that's a conversation for
Totally.
down the road. Let's see if they even get there. But
Yeah.
this week, I still think they're going to win at Houston because I think that they're a better team. I know Houston's favored. Um, Houston, they're 2-0 for the first time in like 7 years, but they haven't played anybody. I think they're better than last year. They got a better quarterback than last year. They're still not putting up very many points considering how their competition is. Um, I
They're
think
very
Colorado goes,
similar programs.
yeah, they frankly are. I think CU goes down there and wins that game 24-20.
I heard Houston's coach today say that the staff prepared for Colorado over the summer. Because it was going to be a short week, and I was like, what is that going to do? I mean, you're preparing for a completely different team. What do you mean you guys prepared for Colorado over the summer because you knew it was going to be a short week? What could you have had to prepare for
I
over the
think it's
summer?
well, probably part because he knew Stephen F. Austin and Rice were the first 2 games. So his first real game was Colorado.
I don't know. Yeah, but what were you going to go off of? A completely different team last year? Like how they played last year, which is completely different?
I'm sure they didn't fully prepare, Matt. I'm sure they're
It
watching a
was
lot of
just a weird
Salter and
statement. It
things
was
like
just a
that.
weird
Yeah,
statement to make, in my
yeah,
opinion. In my opinion, it was. Anyway, I I'm riding. Let's ride the stop wave. Let's ride the stop wave. I'm not going to bring Ryan down. He said it's my time. I mean, he came off the sideline and said that when there's a 5-star and a guy they brought in who's a fifth-year senior, he's got some chutzpah to him. Like, go if it's Ryan. And you know what? If it's both, I hope they both do well because again,
Yeah,
Kaidon I don't think has done enough to lose the job. He just didn't win it. And Ryan has looked the best of the three so far. And I don't think right now they're in a position to be very choosy, in my opinion. That's just
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah. We'll see. See who wins.
I told you, we're riding the wave with Staub.
Okay, you're going Colorado.
Cab
All right,
Stobbins. Let's do
all
it.
right. Doom and
I'm
gloom is
not even
picking
giving you a
Colorado.
score. I'm not even going to give you a score.
Doom and
Like, I
gloom is
mean,
picking Colorado, Matt.
what'd you say?
Doom and gloom is picking Colorado.
Doom and gloom, guys.
Anybody
Doom
still
and
sticking
gloom.
around, you better stick around and hear that.
The haters are here.
Matt, let's get out of here. We'll see you after Houston.
We'll see you, buddy.